Morning, everybody. 8:10 a.m., March 25th. Welcome to my channel. Now, the big news is the potential ceasefire, which Iran is denying there's anything on social media, saying that oil prices are not going to go down. Who knows what to believe? The market right now is telling us it believes something because crude's down almost 6%. Markets are up over 1%. Okay. So, who knows? Right now, the market's liking the potential, right? That's really what's going on today. Yesterday, yesterday, my long scenario played out pretty much. Like I said, it was a sneaky long. We swept the overnight lows in both markets and wind up hitting the most traded prices of the week. I was more concentrated on a short, which I did wind up taking later in the day. I took one earlier in the day, and oh, that was heartbreaking. I was in it, and two things happened actually. Right back to back. I was short 66.30. I was going to be short 66.36, contemplating on putting a limit order out there. I was doing this live, and I was like, oh, I almost had a limit order there. I'm not sure yet. And then that literally within, I don't know, 5 to 6 minutes after I said that, dropped, would have hit my target. Then we came back up again. And a little later, I did get in a short at 66.27, I believe. And I was in it. It moved down. I was like, okay, looking good. It moved right back up, and I was like, you know what? I'm not hoping here. Let me go to break even. It literally, my break even was the top of the candle, and it proceeded to hit my target literally like a couple minutes after that with some negative news. And I was like, come on. Like a mental trade that hit, and then a trade I was in hit. And I was like, all right, I don't want to force anything. So then I just waited. Finally, towards the end of the day, I still thought the market would go down. So I went in half position on it, and was able to catch that move to the downside at the end of the day, and winded up doing a half R, then getting a 2R return on that half R. So not bad, not bad. Like I said, if I would have traded the two trades, I would have had an awesome day. But I can't complain. I'm really seeing the markets well lately, so hope that continues. Okay, let's get into it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. You use market profile and volume profile to find structure in the markets, long supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That is my edge. That's how a couple game plans. Now, once that market opens up, I use my market internals. All right, I use a little ICT thrown in there to come up with some game plans. Right, you can get my weekly expected move in my Discord for free. You also can get my gamma levels for free that I post every morning. And that brings me to my Discord. If you want more in-depth coverage, you are going to join my Discord, Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. Okay, now a real quick reminder in my Discord. Like I said, I've been building out to be more interactive. All right, and if you see now, I'm giving these updates with watermarks, timestamps, right? So now you get my pre-market scenarios every day. Notice they're all written out now. So they're written out with timestamps in the morning. You can see right here, long sneaky long play, watch for gap and go lower that breaks overnight lows, and we sweep it, close back inside overnight range with a higher low target 66.35. The Nasdaq worked out the same way, and also the short 66.35. That was why I shorted yesterday. So then, of course, every morning you get my gamma levels, right? Those are gamma flip points. Put them on your charts, right? I have a proprietary script that I have a bunch of tickers with gamma, positive and negative gamma levels, but I give you the flip points of the important SPX, QQQ, and the SPY. There's my weekly expected move indicator for Thinkorswim. Feel free to put that on your chart. That's very good edge. 70% of stocks close within those expected move ranges. All right, and my daily receipt really keeps me, the community, right, letting you know. Look at yesterday, right? There's my macro call, bearish. And then throughout the day, I let you know exactly what the ticks are doing. My WAD, my weighted AD, the sectors, the XLK, the day type, my overall read and trades setups. And then yesterday I posted again. It looked bullish at that time, okay, but the XLK was a laggard. And energy was the leader, right? So I said cautious, looking for a short, waiting for a reject and retest 6635. Okay, and then boom, here's the then that gives you the overall summary of the day, right? And you can see my trades right here. Now, like I said, eventually I'm going to be hitting you with some trade recaps and stuff like that, but I want to get this ironed out. I'm doing this for myself. I'm actually having my AI agent keep a scorecard of my results from pre-market scenarios. So this is what I wanted to put together for a while, because my calls are pretty accurate every day. All right, so I don't have to say to you, "Oh, I'm accurate." You can look here and see the timestamps and see how accurate I am. Okay. Now, hopefully, you join me every morning. Subscribe, set that alert to give you the market story, the economic calendar, the market news, technical analysis, and to give you the long and short trade scenarios of Nasdaq and ES futures towards the end of the stream. Okay. Now let's get right into these futures watch list here, because the market's liking this right now. Okay, we're pulling back. Whoa, 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 whoa. We're pulling back, and I don't know why. I'm trying to look at crude right now, if that's pumping. I don't know what that is. 817, not sure. You can hear those orders hitting the tape. I have alarm set for those orders to alert me. Okay, let's look at the metals. Now the metals are getting a lot of love this morning with the dollar weakness. Okay, now it's not that weak right now. So silver up 4.77%, gold up 3.67%, Ethereum up 3.21%, Bitcoin is holding above 70K, up 3.19%, Russell's up 1.15%, Nasdaq up 1%, Dow up 0.88%, ES up 0.80%. It was just up 1%. Now it's not anymore. 30-year bonds are being bought today, should send yields lower. Okay, dollar is pretty much flat now. 10-year yield is down 1.41%. That's going to help out mortgage rates. Crude, look at that. Now here's the difference. Crude was down almost 6% earlier. It's gaining. It's taking back some of those losses now. I don't know if something just came over news-wise or what, but that was almost down 6%. It's starting to come back. Okay. Now crude inventories come out today at 10:30. Normally that doesn't really affect the markets, but I think it will today. Who knows? Okay. VIX is down almost 4.5%, down to a 25 VIX. All right, Mag 7 Plus. Let's look at these. All green here. All green. AMD leading the pack, up 2.48%. Coinbase up 2.27%. Tesla's up 2%, over 2%. Okay, let's go to who's at the bottom here. Eli Lilly, Berkshire Hathaway, Netflix. None of those are really. There's no laggards, folks. Okay. Top sectors. The mining stock, NEM, leading. No surprise there, up 4.5%. Palantir up 1.5%. 1.5%. Oracle up 1.30%. GEV, my baby. Oh my God. It's at 921. That thing is Jesus. I keep thinking, oh, I'm going to trim here. And I'm like, this thing is just, it's going to be $1,000 soon. I just wish I had more of it. Okay. Caterpillar up 1%. Now there is a couple laggards here. Chevron and Exxon. No surprise there. Sectors. Folks, risk on markets when semiconductors are up, they're up 1.30%. XLY, that's your discretion. That's your Tesla, your Amazon, your Home Depot, that's up 1.03%. Technology, almost up 1%. Industrials up 0.62%. Financials up 0.61%. Real estate up 0.5%, over 0.5%. Communications up 0.5%. Utilities up. Who's the laggard? Energy. Who's the laggard? Energy. Okay. So, interesting market, right? Moving on, folks. We're going to get right into the economic calendar today. It's kind of light with this week, actually. So let's get right into that. Okay. So 30-year mortgage actually came out today. Look at that. That's no surprise because the 10-year yield has been going up. 6.3%. Previous 6.43% actual. Okay, so it went up. Not a surprise there. Export import prices come out at 8:30. That doesn't really move markets. 10:30 EIA crude expecting supply to go up a point 0.5 million. Previous was 6.15. Okay, so curious. Now, usually how crude goes, if there's a surplus, like a positive number, that usually is adding supply, which will take the crude down. If usually there's a draw, a negative number, it pushes crude up. Okay, so that's what's going on for today. Now, if we go to financial juice to see if there's anything else here. Okay, this might have been the news that just came out. All right, FARS news agency, citing a source, Iran will not accept a ceasefire or enter into this process with a party that has violated its agreements. There's the selling. Because the moral of this story, over the last week and a half or so, is obviously Trump says the war's almost over last week. We're coming to a deal. They're saying there's no deal at all. They're going through Pakistan as an intermediary, and Iran's keeps saying, like, I don't know what they're talking about. There's no talks going on at all. Who knows what to believe? Could be both lying. I don't know. At the end of the day, right? Who knows? I really don't know. Okay, and I gotta follow price. All right, I can't get too caught in the weeds. Now, what I would say is I have news in my ear all day. You have to in this market. There's no way you trade without knowing the news. No way. Okay, so that is a little bearish. Okay, so that's what we got there. I don't really see anything to talk about here. Let's look at Trump's schedule today. Um, 11 a.m. First Lady. All right. 1 p.m. The President receives his intelligence briefing. That's closed press. Closed press. All right. We'll see. We'll see if Trump. I don't see anything here where he's publicly speaking, but we'll see. Okay. Let's look at. Maybe there's some news here, some stocks here. We can give us a nice little list here. Let's see if they can do that. All right, here we go. Little summary, a little stock news. We know Chevron and Exxon down. United Airlines and Delta Airlines and other travel stocks rallied in hopes for an end to the Iran war. Chewy reported fourth quarter adjusted earnings significantly exceeded analyst expectations, sending shares into the online pet supplier retailer up. Drug maker Merck said that it had agreed to purchase Terns Pharma, the $6.7 billion deal. Let's see here. EchoStar, Rocket Lab, and AST-based space will all climb pre-market after the information reported that Elon Musk SpaceX plans to file a prospectus for its much-anticipated initial public offering as soon as this week. ARM Holdings, a semi, jumped after the chip designer said it would begin selling its own processors. Okay. Now, also, what's been on the news, not in the news, yeah, the news, has been Claude. Okay. Claude came out with something that can, hook into your computer like an OpenClaw and click your whatever you wanted to do on your personal computer. Yesterday, software took a fall again. That's why Microsoft was down, like stocks like Atlassian, a lot of software. If you just go to the IGV ETF, it took a downturn. Okay, so I don't know. I mean, I still think Microsoft eventually is going to go up. However, I don't. I mean, what's weird? Not weird. What's crazy about it is that the AI, this kind of stuff with Claude, is going to keep coming, keep getting better. I know some people that I've heard has like bought some starter positions in ServiceNow and Salesforce, but I don't know. I really don't know what to think. Okay. All right, let's look at some of this. SpaceX aims to file for IPO as soon as this week. We just talked about that. Let's see. U.S. ramps up fuel exports to Cuba's private sector. U.S. judge says Pentagon's blocklisting of Anthropic looks like punishment for its views on AI safety. OpenAI drops AI video tool Sora, startling Disney. Okay. Let's see if there's any other news that I didn't talk about. All right, we can move on here. What we're going to do now, we'll go into those breadth charts. Or let's look at real quick the credit spreads. What are they doing? Remember I said the harder they go. Well, they took a little downturn. All right, but they're trending up. Just keep an eye on that. Let's go to the breadth. Okay, let's go to that breadth. Okay, so first thing we're going to start with is the bullish percent in, we'll start here. Percentage of stocks over 20 days simple moving average, 19%. It's not that great of a number. Okay, let's change that to 50-day. Let's see where that's at. That's at 25%. Still not a great number. Okay, so the breadth is not in great shape. So we're going to go into the bullish percent index of the S&P 500. That's just the percentage of stocks that are on buy signals. Okay, 37. That's not the best number. Okay, we can go lower than that. All right, so that's what we have there. Let's see if the NDX. Now we're at 37 in the S&P. Let's see what the NDX has been. 36. Interesting. Okay. Before it was a little stronger. That was probably with software yesterday. Taking a dive. Let's go to info technology. We'll probably see the sector take a dive. It did. Okay. 40% at buy signals, and we'll finish it off with financials. Financials, like I said, is getting oversold. 32% now on buy signals. So nothing looks great yet. It looks still pretty oversold a little bit. All right. Set your breath check in. Now we're going to talk about the good old internals from yesterday. In 2 days in a row, there's been quite a divergence in internals. Okay, 2 days in a row, the equal weight has been very, very strong. Stronger than the market cap weight. Now, the equal weight, that's not how our market works. Okay, it moves off of market cap weight, which are these bars. Okay, so whenever you have the equal weight stronger than the market cap, that's kind of like you don't want to see equal weight leading. Okay. Now, yesterday, the drags were technology was not the leader. That's because of the software. Communications was down. But the rest of the market was green. Hence the push-pull. And then yesterday, what do you have? Friggin' news every 2 seconds. Trump talking. Right? Hegseth talking. Like, it just doesn't end with news. Headline risk. All right, now, from the comments that you saw from Iran, crude is only down 3.70% now. Crude is going up. Okay, and we were actually at, when that news came out, a resistance level. So, who knows? This makes it a little trickier, and again, it's contradicting what we're being told. And Israel's still bombing, even when they're saying a ceasefire. So who the hell knows, okay? You just have to follow price. The candle that's happening right now is a bearish engulfing candle in the hourly chart. So we'll have to see, okay? We'll have to see. This market, you just got to be real patient with it, okay? Now, we're going to talk about dailies. Let's talk about those daily charts. What about the dailies? Daily charts. Now, one thing, I'm not the biggest guy to talk about this stuff. I have to say, the RSI was oversold right here on this bottom. Okay, we haven't seen that. Let's see. See the last time we saw that. That was the bottom of liberation. That's the last time we saw that reading in the RSI. That's notable. And you gotta recognize that. People are gonna say, "Whoop, time to buy." Okay, time to buy. So, with that being said, let's look at our SPY here. Right, there's Friday's close. Okay, what did we do yesterday? We opened here. Wait a minute here. Yeah, we opened here, closed here. Still down before the previous day. Okay, came into the middle almost of the range. That's all we could do. Still under the 200-day moving average. Okay, now where are we now? 657. 657 puts us pretty much at yesterday's highs. We were gapping up much higher earlier. All right, futures. Okay, right now what you just did. Okay, why is that? All right, are we really hitting the year-to-date? Oh, that candle's getting worse. Okay, so we came right up here. Now you have like a equal high up here, hitting the year-to-date anchored VWAP. Now I'm not sure how accurate that is on this chart. Okay, I'll have to go to my other chart to see if that's actually accurate. Okay, because this is the new contract. It might not be the most accurate, but we'll look at that. All right, so like I said, that news is bearish, and it's the sugar rush from this news is starting to get taken away. Okay, so interesting here. Now that could be a draw on liquidity later. It could be a magnet that we go back to it, but this is putting our markets in flux. Crude is starting to push back up close to $90 a barrel now. Okay, so who knows? Okay, who knows? Now I promised you that year-to-date anchor view, but let's look at that. I have another chart here, and I can pull it up. All right, I'm gonna pull up that. Just give me a sec while I do that. I'm just gonna bring up my futures chart. Let's just see if that's true for the year-to-date anchored VWAP. Give me a sec here. So I'm gonna put this up right here. I just gotta rearrange this because this year-to-date is not correct. Ooh, let's delete that. Let's do 2026. And let's apply it. Yeah, I didn't think it was accurate. No. Alright, so I wouldn't say that's very accurate. According to the continuous contract here, it's up here. So that's what I was right to ignore that. So let's get back to daily charts here. Okay. And we're going to get right into the QQQ. So yesterday, just kind of a doji. Almost hit Friday's close, last week's close. Okay. Big range from last week. Okay, big range. Still under the 200-day. Okay. Where are we now? 588.25. 588.25 brings us. We're still above yesterday's highs, but in futures we're right at the highs. Okay. Let's look at the Nasdaq futures. So you almost have that equal high again as well in here. Okay, there's last month's lows. That's being rejected again. Okay, so we'll get into the hourly chart in a brief moment, but again, this puts this market in flux with that news. I was waiting for an official, like, what are they talking about? We're not negotiating anything. Ceasefire. Right? So, 2 doji sessions. Look at that. That just tells you everything you need to know. Okay? Now we're going to move on to hourlies. Okay, let's get to these hourlies. Okay? And this tells a lot. This tells a lot. Let's look at the hourly charts together. Okay. All right. So, yesterday, what did we do? Swept that overnight high and went right up to where I said 66.35, the most traded price of the week. So that was a check. And then what happened? Resistance here, right? Remember I said I wanted to short there. I did and got that move. I thought in the middle of the day we could push down, but we didn't. We didn't have a big. We didn't have a session where we broke down. Okay. Now this is supply, right? Look at the resistance here. Right on that news, the market was here. Now look at this candle. Now the one thing I'd have to say, okay, when I do my demand and I do my supply, the way this market is moving, it's consolidating very nicely to the upside and then getting a move higher. Consolidating to the upside, getting a move higher. And it's building these walls, okay, that only probably news can take them out. Okay, this is a stacked demand that I'm like, all right. It's telling me it's almost armor plated down here to like, if without negative news, we just had some negative news, right? That this is going to be very hard. Now look also what's causing support right there is the most traded price of the week. That's why I tell you guys I use the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day every morning. Okay, they matter. They matter. They always matter. So we have supply here, right? We're in supply. We just came into demand. This market does not know what it wants to do. You don't really have any poor structure here to rip down. That's what I'm trying to my point. You don't even have that much poor structure to rip up. So I can definitely see our market right now do one of these up, maybe, and then it's gonna really have a hard time to go down without negative news, but it could do that and then maybe work itself up. I don't know. It's very difficult. Now look at the last 4 hours. That's a doji, folks. Doesn't know what it wants. Okay? I would say this chart right here makes it very difficult. Very difficult. Okay? That is a wall to go down, and then the only free spot you have is when you break out of this over to 6700s. You have some poor structure from the past that you could maybe cut through. But we're not there yet. We're in this mess, right? This is the range really we've been in, right? We'll just throw a volume profile on it. Okay, again, one more time. I did this earlier in the week. We'll do it from right here, and just to see what the volume looks like. Yep. Where does that volume spike? Right where I say most traded price of the week. Right there. The highest amount of volume. And our value area is this green to green. That's the 70% of this trade since this point in time. Okay? So, do we keep in this value area? I don't see why we probably wouldn't with that negative news, but you never know. Now, there's going to be a time and point. I'm thinking that how much more can we hear Trump say, it's over. They're almost agreeing to our terms. I mean, I don't know how much more he could do it, because it's, I mean, I know algos drive it, so it might still happen, but I mean, I don't know. It's kind of like, looks ridiculous at this point, really, right? So, let's look at the NASDAQ. Same deal. Okay, same deal. Okay, we have the 243 most traded price of the week. That moved a little bit, okay, from yesterday. It did move a little bit. Now we'll do the profile as well. Same thing. What happened? We swept the overnight lows. Okay, then we ripped up, right? And then we ran into supply. Look at all that resistance here. Then you had just the negative news. There's last month's lows. Very liquid level. And again, they have the walls of demand, like I said, that the ES has as well. It's just been, look at the trade. Look how many hours here it took for sideways to move up. And look how much time is spent here to move up. That is not easy to cut through. Okay? Look at the last 4 hours. Doji. Look at the daily. It's pretty much undecided. Market doesn't know where to go. Okay? Does not know where to go. Now, one big thing I didn't mention in ES, this big bullish fair value gap here has really been supportive. That's bullish. Right now, it's bullish. Okay? Let's look at a little profile here just to see. We'll take it from this point in time here. Boom. Okay. So you do have a little spike here where I have it. Now remember, I do the profile. What? 10. So I do this. My most traded price of the week, these boxes are based on real-time trading hours only. Okay. So this is obviously extended hours. So obviously you see extended hours 24470s are from this point in time. Okay. But you can see the value area. Okay. Let's just paint it out here. 70% of the trade is happening where? In here to here. That's where 70%. That's not the best color for that. But let's go here. 70% of the trade in this white highlighted area. That's what we've been doing. Okay? Now, do we stay in that area? Maybe, because of this indecisive market. Okay? So, that's your hourly charts. So, like I said, right now, there's not a ton I'm like, woof, I'm loving it. Okay? But there will be opportunities. There will be opportunities. There always is. It just got to wait for them. You got to wait for them. And I'm really, every day, trying to tell myself, I am the casino. I make the rules of where I get in and where I'm willing to risk. Right? That's the only thing we can control. Is where we want to risk and where we get in. And besides that, it's up to the market gods of what happens next. Okay? So that's, and I know everybody who's watching me or listening knows in trading. How dare you? Everybody knows in trading that, right? Like you can have that mental short or you want to get in where you're like, ooh, that's where I want to get in. And then it comes to where you want. And you're like, I don't know. And then let's say you're going to short and it falls. And then you're like, see, I knew it. And then what makes you might want to do from there is take a poorer entry. Now your risk to reward's messed up, right? You're not the casino. That's what you have to do. Be the casino, right? You have to ask yourself, is this worth the risk? Is this something I've seen before? Do I have enough criteria that makes sense to short the market where I want to? Does it match my pre-market scenario? Do I have internals on my side? Does the hourly structure support my trade? Right? Is my risk worth it? Is my target realistic? Right? That's all we can look for. That's all we can do. Okay? Now, we're at market profile, volume profile. Okay? This is where we can see the overnight versus the real-time trading hours. This is why I love looking at charts like this, because it really shows me. And the reason I like to see it, obviously it's for obvious reasons, is because I can always see what the overnight session's doing versus the real-time trading hours. The overnight versus the real-time trading hours, right? It's really nice to see, okay? Because number one, overnight trading is weak hands. That's not the big boys in the market. It's weak. Big boys don't trade overnight futures. All right? So, let's get into it. Let's get into the game plan. Let's get into the ES long and short trade scenarios, okay? Now, let's mark off some levels. All right? Remember I said before the area that we're marking out. Now this real composite composite volume profile to the right here is showing us the value area, right? For over the last week, rolling week. That's been the playground, essentially. Okay? Remember, we have these stacked demand zones where I said, oh boy, it's not going to be easy to take all that out. It's just not, right? But now we have conflicting news, so we'll have to see. So right now, it's really hard. This before, pre-market, before that news, I'd have been like, all right, pullbacks into these could still be viable. I still think that's realistic. However, I don't know, right? So I'm going to start off with the long. Maybe the market could sustain this. I don't know. So we have a demand zone here, all right? And what is at the bottom of this demand zone? The most traded price of the week, 66.35. It's a pivot point in the market. It's being supported right now in the overnight session. So what I would like to see, okay, what I would like to see is the 66.35s get tested. Even if it breaks this demand, I don't care because you have another demand. Let's say it sweeps that, retest the 66.35s. That's a long. You target those equal highs in the overnight 66.81s. Okay. Now, if we get momentum, we could spike up and hit the end of the supply zone at 67.04. Now, above that, you might have a ride up to 67.60, month-to-date anchored VWAP at 67.62. You can fill that gap as well. That's been left there. Do I think that? I have no clue. Okay, I have no clue. Now, since we're in this value area for the week, okay, this now means that if we were to drop, let's say, drop down to yesterday's most traded price, okay, the overnight lows, and we came down into near yesterday's lows, there's a demand there. Any support here, right, in a higher low, might be a decent long back to 66.35, the most traded price of the week, or I call it sometimes the VPOC week. 66.35, it's the most traded price of the week, or the VPOC week. It's the pivot level. Okay? It's kind of all I'm interested in for longs. Shorts. Okay? I think this might be a decent shot play. Okay? Now, equal highs at 66.81s in the overnight, right? That's probably going to be a draw on liquidity. Market's going to be attracted to it. So if the market drives up off that open, hits those 66.81s, the overnight highs, we sweep it, come back inside the overnight range, get a lower high. This now, let's say if the crude starts moving up, let's say the market's not that strong, you look and target the 66.35s, that most traded price of the week. Then you're going to look to go to the overnight lows. That's your 66.08s. Now, do I think this is going to be the easiest trade? Maybe not, but however, if we're in a little balance area, gravity might take over and everybody who's long will have to cover, and we might be able to test the 65.73s. That's yesterday's lows. Now, do we break the lower? I don't know. I think there's a lot of indecisives. I don't know. Honestly, folks, probably my only play for the shorts. Okay. Now, NASDAQ. Let's look at, does that look any different? Does that look any different? Let's see. NASDAQ is gapping up. Did I miss the gap up? No. Oh, yes. ES is gapped up. So 66.46, you know what? Yeah, that could be a level we pull back to. I'm still going to hold to my most traded price of the week as the pullback, okay? Let's go back to the NASDAQ. NASDAQ is gapping up slightly. You have a lot of volume trading right there at where we're at, 24434. You have a lot of volume trading there in the overnights, okay? Now, you have a most traded price of the week at 243s in your NASDAQ. You have a lot of stacked demand. Now, we're not close, okay? We are not close to those highs as I think the ES is. All right. Now, without further ado, let's just get right into the long and short trade scenarios in the NASDAQ futures. Okay. We also have that value area here mapped out for us. Let's just mark those off. This is the rough 70% of trade. You can see it. Let's just call it around the 245s, around the 242s. That's been our 70% of trade. Okay. Now, we're going to start off with the long scenario. Okay. The market pulled back on that little negative news. Okay. You do have close to an equal high at the overnight highs around the 24547s. Okay. Now, same thing as ES. If you pull back and hold the 243s, get the higher low, you're going to go long. Target the overnight highs. Okay. Now, if we start pushing, you can go to the 24690s. There's a little bit of a poor high there. Maybe jolt up and tap the 24763s. Maybe you get up to the 249s. Month to date anchor view ups at 24835s. Okay. Now, like I said, if there's a deeper pullback and you touch the bottom of this value area low of the last week, that level is around 24179. Okay. Maybe you even tap and sweep the previous day's lows, come back into range, you get a higher low. And let's say the market's not that weak or strong, go back up to 243s. Okay. That's my longs. Now the short side, right, which I think might come into play. Who knows? Now, if we drive and we do break those 24547s, the overnight highs, those equal highs, and we get trouble in this supply, right? You sweep it, come back into range, close here, put in a lower high. You're going to target those 243s and see if you get some more gravy on top of that and can take out yesterday's lows, 24134s. Do you go all the way down to last week's lows, 23970s? I don't know. Okay, but that's probably the only thing I'm interested in there. Okay. That's it, folks. That's it for me today. All right, smash that like button if you enjoyed that analysis. Okay, that would help me out tremendously. Okay, now, hopefully you join me every morning. Subscribe, set that alert. Okay, give you the market news, the economic calendar, leaders and the laggards, technical analysis, and I just gave you the long and short trade scenarios in the NASDAQ and the ES futures. Okay, now, do you want more in-depth coverage? Okay, you're going to join my Discord, Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. Now, like I showed you earlier in my Discord, I am showing proof that your boy knows what he's talking about. I know how the market moves. I called scenarios. Okay? I'm calling scenarios. There's evidence there now, and I just got to tell you, you can see the timestamps of what I say. So come join me. All right? I should be live today around 9:50 a.m. Come join me live. Okay? Remember, you get the pre-market scenarios. You get gamma levels. You get the reading of internals. You get my outlook, my trade setups, and then the results of them at the end of the day. Okay? Now, today, like I said, I don't, this conflicting news, got to watch crude, okay? It's going to be interesting. Of course, have your squawk guy in your ear because you need to listen to the news. Okay? I don't I have no clue what's going to happen today. I never really do until the market starts showing its hand. Okay? So we have our plans. Now, wish everybody had have a good day today. No trade is a trade. Okay? Hopefully everybody has a green day. Okay? Now, if I don't see you in my Discord, I will see you tomorrow morning on my stream. All right, everybody? Take it easy.